Okay, I'd like to call the meeting of Independent School District 721 to order. And we'll have roll call. Mark Bartuszczyk.
Here.
Leo Giesen.
Here.
Matt Goldati.
Here.
Dennis Havlicek.
Here.
Kim Holden.
Here.
Tammy Pexa.
Here.
Jean Kubish here. Please note all board members are present. And are we going to have a robotics team presentation before the other items?
Yes, I have the presentation. Tim, are you going to give an intro to this?
Yeah, our robotics team, well, been a while. They were supposed to do a live presentation. They've been working hard since November. It's a growing program, and it's a program. It's one of the fastest growing co-curricular activities at the high school level right now. Similar to what play target shooting is, and so we're really proud of how it's come along. And they really want to do a presentation so you can see what it's all about. So it's very well done. So I think you'll enjoy it. Go ahead, Janelle.
Hi, my name is Max Richburn. I'm the captain of the New Prague Robotics team.
Hi, my name is Stevie Bowman. I'm the Booster Club president of the New Prague Robotics team.
Hi, my name is Grace Madsen. I'm a junior and the safety lead of the New Prague Robotics team.
Hi, my name is Stephen Whipple. I'm the community impact lead for the New Prague Robotics team.
Hi, I'm Ava Philippi. I'm the CAD lead of the New Prague Robotics team.
All right, so to start off our presentation, a little bit more about our team. We're a first robotics competition team, Team 5275, and we're based out of New Prague High School. So we have about 20 members on our team this year, and we not only get support from our coaches, but we also have mentors who come in, completely volunteer after their jobs and help us out. We get help from the school district with busing and funds, and most importantly from our sponsors.
The goal of our team each year is to build a robot for the competition powered by FIRST, which stands for the Inspiration and Recognition of Science and Technology. Our mission statement is to build a better community by engaging students in activities using STEM, which stands for Science, Technology, Engineering, and Math, while promoting valuable life skills which encourage today's youth to become tomorrow's leaders.
Every year in January, FIRST releases a challenge to teams around the world, and they have 6 weeks to complete the challenge. There are around 7,000 teams around the world, and we have roughly 6 weeks to build and design our robot after the challenge is released in January. We're going to play for you this short video to better understand what FIRST is and the impact FIRST has.
FIRST was founded in 1989 by Dean Kamen. As an inventor, he realizes that the way to have the biggest impact is to create a whole generation of new inventors through hands-on, engaging robotics challenges. FIRST ignites passion in STEM for kids ages 6 to 18. There's 4 worldwide programs.
Once you get the challenge, you figure out your game plan.
You make a robot and you code on it.
Throughout each of our programs, teams embrace FIRST core values.
Discovery. Innovation.
Impact.
Inclusion.
Teamwork.
Fun.
At face value, FIRST is a robot competition, but at the end of the day, it's so much more than that.
We learn a lot about leadership, how to communicate with others, problem solving,
working together, helping other teams.
Our mentors teach us not just about STEM, but about life.
I think it's incredibly important for youth to see careers in science and engineering as a possibility for them.
FIRST actually taught me that I'm capable of doing anything that I set my mind to.
There's nothing better than seeing your robot on the field playing for the first time. They're all there like, is it gonna work? Is it gonna work? And then when it works, it's the best feeling ever.
As a participant in the FIRST program in high school, you get access to $80 million worth of scholarships.
There are scholarships for colleges, universities, as well as technical programs.
FIRST really develops a pipeline where there's jobs, there's careers, there's opportunities for every one of these kids based on the skills and the experiences they develop in these programs.
In FIRST, every student can go pro. It's a really cool way to step into your future.
I am FIRST.
Yo soy FIRST.
I am FIRST.
I am first.
For our competition, we are going to 2 regionals, one at the U of M in Mariucci Arena, and one in the Entertainment Convention Center in Duluth. There are about 60 teams just like ours going to each competition. With every game, we are paired up with 2 other teams forming either a blue or a red alliance. The alliance's goal is to gather more points than the opponent alliance. One of those competitions I just mentioned was the Northern Lights Regional that we just had at the beginning of March. It was hosted at the Duluth Entertainment Convention Center. At the competition, we were paired up with other teams to work together against another alliance. These 2 videos we will show you now.
All right, so our competition results. So we have some of them from last year ranging to our most recent competition. Our first competition on this little chart we have is the Minnesota North Star Regional, which was March 27th and 2019. We didn't do so well at this one. We got 53rd out of 60. But as you can see, we continue to get better with our 2 off-season competitions, Minnesota Robotics Invitational, which was October 12th, and the Mini Regional, which was November 23rd, and these were both in 2019. And as you can see, we got 13th out of 33 for the Minnesota Robotics Invitational, and we actually got picked to be part of the #1 alliance for that one as well. And then for the Mini Regional, we placed halfway at 18th. Our most recent competition was the Northern Lights Regional, as stated before, and we were able to get 12th out of 59, which was really, really close to finals and the best we have ever done at one of our competitions.
All right, building a robot is not the only thing we do on this team. We like to emphasize career skills in STEM, and we use real-world software and design processes to create the next generation of leaders in all career fields.
All right, so we do a lot of community outreach as part of regular team activities. One of those big things is meeting with community organizations like the Rotary Club or the Lions Club to raise support and awareness of FIRST Robotics in the community. But we also partner with local businesses to promote youth STEM education in the New Prague area community. We work with CVF Racing, Bush Brothers CNC. We participate in community events like Dozinki Days and the county fairs. We actually used to work with some of the other robotics teams with the Scott County Robotics Alliance, and we would put on larger multiple day events at county fairs like the Scott County Fair. And finally, we're working on creating more FIRST teams and STEM education opportunities for young students in the New Prague community. That's mostly through programs like FIRST LEGO League and FIRST LEGO League Junior, which are essentially a gateway to FIRST programs starting out in elementary school or even kindergarten. Okay, so some of the other outreach that we do is inside the school district. A big part of that is Camp Invention. That's a program that we help run at the middle school in the summer. Gives kids the ability to, continue their STEM education outside of the school year. We also go to the elementary school family fun nights like at Eagleview or Falcon Ridge. We go to those and, we bring the robot. We bring along some STEM activities that we have, sort of show kids what it's like to be involved in STEM. And then, we also participate in high school activities like the activity fair, the homecoming parade. And finally, like I said earlier, we're working on creating more FIRST teams, more FIRST groups, and more STEM education opportunities for young students in the New Prague area, which is a big part of what we do.
Ways to contact us. The website, you can always reach out to us through our website using our contact form found on our Contact Us page. Our email, you can always email us using team@timebots5275.com. Or through social media. We are always active on pretty much everything. We have a Facebook page, a Twitter page, and a YouTube page.
We'd like to thank you for listening to this presentation and learning more about the robotics team and what we do in the district. As always, you can reach us through our website and email. And if you have any questions, please feel free to contact us to learn more.
Yeah, so that was the robotics team, and we're proud of what they've accomplished. And it really, there are some kids that are just straight up their alley, and they get a lot out of it, and got a very promising future.
Was the Duluth one the last competition for this year?
Yes, that was happened right before the pandemic hit, the week before. So they were not be able to compete at the University of Minnesota one.
Okay, so that one would have come later then.
Yep.
Okay.
And is this like a state high school league? Does it keep advancing or national? You know, it's
There is national tournaments, but I don't think we've ever either qualified or have gone to it. We used to just go to the University of Minnesota. Now they've added Duluth. We start earlier now. It's really gained a lot of steam, and it's pretty impressive that the work that they do and the passion they have for this.
So, Tim,
Yeah.
so they get a plan. They have 6 weeks to build their robot. They go to a competition. When they come back from that, can they modify their robot?
No, they get for each competition different rules or specs, how to build the robot and how to program it.
Okay.
So there's restrictions going into each competition. I've been to a couple of them at the University of Minnesota, and it's just, I mean, they got cheerleaders. It's just a festive atmosphere at these things. But yeah, they have to do their work ahead of time, and there's a lot of restrictions on the time period they have to work on it. So they're really put on a deadline. It's really interesting.
so every competition is an entirely different robot.
I believe so. As long as they don't have the same rules or what the sort of the ground rules are, I believe. And then he talked about the alliance, which I don't really understand, even though I've been to them. But they team up with another team to defeat the other team and be able to accomplish a task in a certain period of time.
Anybody else have a comment?
We'll have them live next year so they can answer your questions a lot better than I can.
Okay. Okay, now could I have the approval of the motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, now we'll have to do a roll call vote. Mark? Mark?
I think Mark fell off.
Okay. Leo?
Yes.
Matt?
Yes.
Dennis? Dennis?
Your mic's off.
Mine?
No.
Denny.
Oh, did you say yes?
Yes.
Okay. Kim?
Yes.
Tammy?
Yes, and Mark's back on.
Oh, Mark?
Which one?
This is Mark?
The approval, no, the self-assessment, I have to do that one first.
Okay. And Jean, yes. I didn't hear anything from Mark.
Nothing. It's gotta be in there. It was there before.
Mark, we just did the roll to approve the agenda.
Administrative content or executive content?
Mark? Well. Well, let's have another motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
A second?
I'll second.
Okay. All those in favor? Mark?
Yes.
Okay, Mark, do you also approve the agenda?
Yes.
Okay.
I said it about 8 times. I don't know what happened.
We didn't hear you. Okay. Leo?
Yes.
I don't know what to do.
Matt?
Yeah.
Dennis?
I can't do that.
Dennis?
Yes.
I can't get
Kim?
Yes.
Tammy?
Yes.
Jean, yes. Motion carried 7-0. This is another good point to make for a meeting in person, if possible. And, okay, now do we have any committee reports? Policy?
No.
Southwest Metro? Oh, we don't hear you, Denny.
Sorry. Keep flipping it on and off. Southwest Metro had their meeting last Tuesday on the 19th of May, and it was a regular meeting of the governing board. We also had a labor management meeting before that as well. A lot of the discussion talked about alternative learning and how to go about this for special needs students and for children that have difficulty, even in the classroom. It has been quite a challenge to do the non-traditional learning presentation, but the staff has done as good of a job as they could, and things hopefully will work out better in the future. But it is a definite challenge for students that have difficulties even in the mainstream to do the off-site education. A big part of our discussion at the meeting was the Dean Lakes building. We're going forward with that because all of the member boards approved the initial go ahead as far as pursuing the funding and the timing of it and the utilization of the building. So we're working on that, and hopefully things will continue in that right direction because it is quite a facility. If we can get the purchase taken care of, it'll be a great venue for our students. And other than that, that was the meeting.
Okay. How about CPAC?
We did not have a CPAC meeting. Thank you.
Okay. Community Ed?
Community Ed, we did have a meeting, and basically they are just trying to figure out how to do more classes, come up with ideas for more classes online currently due to a lot of them being canceled or other things that you cannot get together and do. So they're trying to do that and come up with an ideal for the fall catalog, whether they should do a full catalog or not. Just kind of everything unknown right now.
Yeah. Wellness?
No.
Okay, and early childhood did not meet either. Fitness and Aquatic Center, joint powers?
Yeah, we met before the meeting today. We discussed, actually, the staff gave a presentation about possible ways to open both the pool and the fitness center once they are able to. Sandy talked about the budget as much as she could with so many unknowns, and it doesn't really look like it's going to change a lot before July. The swim coaches talked about the possibility of starting dry land training for the team on June 1st. I think they're able to. They communicated with team members and parents and had enough of a positive response to. It's not going to be a full charge, and I'm not even sure what the partial charge is. There's going to be some charge for it, but hopefully that will take place on June 1st. And we are continuing to pay the 3 employees until the end of June, and hopefully we will be open by then. They have been busy with continuing education, contacting members with plans for the future, and coming up with plans to be able to reopen both facilities if and when we can. I think that's about it.
Okay, thank you. Superintendent report.
Microphone.
Not that. Get like Denny. Here we go. All right. First, I just want to recognize our retirees this year. Our recognition ceremony, a video that will be coming out, I believe, on Friday that you'll get. And we'll have a performance by one of our student groups, and we'll have a video highlights. I give a little speech, and then we'll have the retirees there. But we've got 7 retirees. We've got 3 custodians there. Wendy Collins, 18 years. Ray Hadlick, 22 years. And Janet Wires, 1 year. We got in transportation. Dana Stevens was a van driver for 15 years. Don Pesta retired after 21 years with the transportation department. They both have done a wonderful job. And then 2 paraprofessionals. Ann Samansky is retiring after 28 years with the district, and Sonia Kraft, 10 years. So a total of 7. So I just want to mention them. They've done a wonderful job, and we appreciate their service and wish them the best in their retirement. But like I said, you'll get that video, our end of year recognition ceremony on Friday. Some other things with graduation, we've got starting at 10 o'clock on this Friday, which would be the day of graduation. And I need to tell you right now, the forecast is 69 and sunny. So if that stays, we would have been outside for the, I don't know what, 5th consecutive year. So I'm still going to count that. But there'll be the cap and gown pickup. So we'll have a car lineup, and all the teachers and staff members from all the schools are invited. So it's not just going to be the high school staff there, but we've invited everyone from preschool, elementary, and middle school to be there to wave to the kids. So that should be, and of course, we'll keep physical distancing, right? So that will take place on Friday, and that night we'll begin the individual recognition ceremonies. I don't know what the exact count is, but well over 200 seniors and families have signed up for that. And that will take place at Trojan Stadium, weather permitting. Otherwise, it'll be in the auditorium. But so far, the forecast looks good, and you know how accurate our meteorologists are. So we're hopeful there. So that's all set. And I mentioned weekly wrap, too, about the parade that will be on Sunday. And I talked to one of the parents today who's organizing it, and she said the sign up is going very well. The other thing I mentioned too in the weekly wrap, been in communication with the New Prague Mayor Chuck Nicolai, and he's designated this Friday, May 29th, to be the New Prague High School Senior Class 2020 Day. We have a plaque here. I'm not going to read the whole plaque right now, but this was given to me. He delivered that, and I thought it was a classy gesture. So I'll be bringing it up to the high school tomorrow. But like I said, they're declaring Friday, May 29th to be the New Prague High School Senior Class 2020 Day. I'd also like to mention Elko and Newmarket just contacted me today, and they are also proclaiming this Friday to be New Prague High School Senior Class Day today. So we have 335 seniors graduating this year. I guess that's everything I want to go over. Oh, no, one last thing I forgot about with the governor's order that was updated last week, beginning June 1st. We can have, there's a lot of guidelines from the Department of Health, but I've given the okay to Janelle Kirsch, in charge of community services and scheduling, to allow youth sport associations to start using our fields, and they have to operate under the Minnesota Department of Health guidelines. So whether it's baseball, softball, lacrosse, soccer, I know tomorrow is going to be a busy day of scheduling, but there are limitations with that that they need to follow. But that will open up on June 1st. As far as summer camps and high school off-season activities, again, they also have to follow the Department of Health guidelines. Right now, I've talked to Brad Skoderbo and Kevin Kleiner, the assistant AD, and Janelle Kirsch. They're more comfortable making sure, because a lot of it's indoors, most of it's indoors. They wanted to make sure they had good communication and were well organized. So that will start on June 15th, camps and practices. They'll do some things virtual the first 2 weeks, but June 15 will be their start date. I called Brad Skoderbo on Saturday or Friday, I can't remember. He was in the gym measuring the square footage because there are limitations for like inside facilities and how many kids you can have per square foot. So they'd be in pods of 10. And I don't want to get into too much detail here, but I trust that they're working everything out. So, that's the goal, and looking forward to some of these kids getting back to, some activities. Keep in mind some of the regulations. You're not doing any like team sport activities or like 3-on-3 or 5-on-5 or even 1-on-1. It's mostly skill development, but they're also still being able to work out the strength and conditioning program too. And I know a lot of the coaches, and why we needed to wait till June 15th is this is a first, be able to try to figure this thing out. And they want to make sure they got it, like I said earlier, well organized. So that's that. Anyone have any questions? That's all I got. Update and good news.
Tim?
Yes.
Has there been work on next year's plans, or has that not started yet?
That's a great question. Yes, we already have been planning for next year. Of course, I don't have a crystal ball, so I can't tell you. We don't know what's going to happen with the pandemic. I'm hoping, I know the Minnesota Department of Education, along with Minnesota Department of Health and the governor, I hope they're going to have to wait a period of time before they can give us direction. I just hope it's timely and we have, specific guidelines. But we are planning, we're starting to begin our planning. Last week, we had our first meeting, and as the administrative team, we have 3 teachers on that team. But I'm gonna say this: I'm projecting it's going to be sort of a hybrid type of learning. That it will be hopefully in person, but we know people are going to be restricted due to health and other concerns that we're going to need to provide also online learning too. So what it's going to exactly look like, I can't tell you right now, but we'll have plans ready. We're really working hard on it now and through the month of June and July. So, and we've got a lot of people working on it. We're getting ordering some technology that will be able to be paid through some coronavirus federal dollars, stuff like that. But we'll be ready. But exactly what it's going to look like, I don't know right now. No one does.
Thank you.
You bet.
The next item is parent survey results.
Yes, I shared that information in the weekly wrap, and also it's on board docs here. Obviously, the official document. This is something Tony Boothie is in charge of every year, and this is the 7th year of administering the survey. So it's something we've done all 7 years of my tenure as superintendent, and we usually get between 700 and 1,000 parents that respond to these 32 statements, and they've been basically the same 32 statements every year. That the responses after the statement, parents can strongly disagree, agree, or strongly agree. And I'll be honest with you, just with all the stuff going on this year, it was sent out a couple weeks ago by Tony. I'm just like, at first I said, this is such a weird year. I don't even feel good sending this out. But and I always get a little nervous. You want to get feedback, but you wonder how it's going to come out. And this was unbelievable. Good results. We had a 90% agree or strongly agree rating on 29 of the 32 statements. We had increased satisfaction on 19 of the 32 statements. 12 of the statements had the highest satisfaction score in the 7 years of the survey. We only had 2 statements that had just disagreed by 1%. I could go on and on. It was very good. I want to mention a couple here, though. The school district providing healthy meal choices. It was interesting there. That has gone up like about 6 percentage points on average, or 4 to 6 points every year since 2014, and it had a 92% rating, which is the highest. Feel really good about 98% of our parents agree or strongly agreed that we're taking steps to keep our school district and their children safe. So there's a lot of good things. You can read through that, but it was, of the 7 years, it's always been very strong, very good. We get some good feedback there, but this year was the strongest year ever. So a lot to feel good about, and very proud of our staff. If you even just take, whether it's, I mean, I just don't want to remember the last 11 weeks, which I think our staff, whether it's the paraprofessionals and nutrition services and transportation, custodians, clerical, I mean, have done a wonderful job keeping things running. But, and then obviously our teachers, but it's the whole year. It's not just the 11 weeks. I mean, they rose to the occasion, but we're just fortunate. We have such good people working in our district. And like I've told you before, we do have very supportive families. So feel very good about this. We still got room for improvement, but it was some good feedback. Anyone have any questions or comments?
Okay, should we go on to the next item? First reading of the preliminary 2020 to 21 budget.
Okay, thank you. I think Janelle is going to be sharing the presentation. It's also posted in board docs. Here we go. Perfect. Okay, just as a reminder, I do the first budget reading at the meeting in May, and then the final budget at the meeting in June. We are required by law to have an approved budget prior to July 1st every year. So first of all, regarding the fiscal year 1920 projected results, a couple of things have changed since the you approved the budget in December. First, as I started looking at how to make some kind of soft cuts that we would be planning in the next couple of years, I did some investigation. Actually, last year I found out that every third year we can charge back the Nutrition Services Fund for lunchroom supervision. So I had decided prior to the pandemic to charge back about $47,000 to Fund 2, and that's directly money out of our unassigned fund balance that I can save. So that is one change that we had planned to make. The second one is a custodial and utilities chargeback to the Community Services Fund. I really don't see that a lot of districts do this. However, in looking at the Community Services Finance Manual, it is allowed based on square footage to charge back some money for utilities and custodial use. And you could only charge back for spaces that are only for community ed, such as preschool and RAP, things like that. Programs that like Kids Company that share spaces, you can't do much with. But I had proposed to do about $100,000 chargeback because the year-end fund balance, the planned year-end fund balance supported that chargeback, and I would plan to do that every year unless the fund balance declined. And you'll see tonight that I still want to do that. It will still work out, and it does save $100,000 from our unassigned fund balance. Then the unplanned changes, since we approved the final budget, obviously the COVID school closure resulted in a lot of changes. We do have some general fund expenses that we're saving. I think I went over those at a prior board meeting, things like substitutes, activity buses, some general supplies, instructional supplies, and so forth. But we also do have some revenue reductions, but it does result in a net gain for the budget. However, we do have the childcare and the meal mandates that resulted in additional expenses. And right after I reported to the board, must have been in April, MDE came out with some guidance that said nutrition services for salary and benefits for time not spent preparing food, so time they're waiting, not scheduled, or they're on call, cannot be charged in the Nutrition Services Fund. So we've done some calculations, and we have to transfer about $182,000 from the general fund into nutrition services fund. However, we can use that long-term facilities maintenance revenue, and I'll show that in the budget that I present. And then community services, that's a pretty big loss because we continued all the salary and benefits, but we could not collect fees any longer. And that's about $291,500. So we will need to transfer $473,500 from the LTFM fund balance to cover those losses. That's an estimate right now. Obviously we have to get finals, and then these transfers have to be approved by the board via a resolution prior to us closing our books. So basically, I would say in August, could even be July, I'll know that dollar amount and I'll be bringing a resolution forward to make those transfers. Next slide. So our projected results, we're going to come in a lot better than what I had projected in a revised budget. Our revenue is going to come in slightly over budget, which is good, $87,000. And there's a new special ed revenue estimate and that I just used and provided us quite a bit more revenue. Our expenses are coming in almost $1.8 million under budget. Some of that is just, we always come in under budget. However, the additional savings from things like substitutes, fuel, things like that really contributed a lot as well. So our projected unassigned fund balance, instead of being 5.8 million, is going to be 7.4 million and 17.3%. So that is really, really good news because it just delays some of those potential budget adjustments we'd have to do by probably a year. Next slide. And then just some opening comments for 2021. So this year, next year is going to be an unusual year, at least start out that way. So this budget assumes a normal school year, but so much is unknown now. Enrollment is going to be key, and we're doing some things, as Tim explained, to try to keep that enrollment up, but it is possible it could drop. And then certified staffing is really not flexible after June 30th. We have to do all of our non-renewals before June 30th, except we could have some attrition unless the governor or legislature would give us flexibility, which is pretty unlikely. Non-certified staffing is more flexible. We can make changes after July 1st. And we are going to be receiving some CARES COVID revenue. And I did just find out this morning that we're anticipating to get only about $73,000. And it can't be used to supplant it. We have to use it to supplement. So we can only pay for additional costs because of COVID. And we have about a year and a half to use it. So, we have some expenses already we've had to make, but a lot of it might be that technology need that Tim talked about earlier. So for nutrition services and community services funds, I can present in June what we think our actual is going to be. However, to do a full-fledged budget for 2021 probably is time wasted at this point because we don't know what things are going to look like. We don't know yet. Are we going to be eating in classrooms? Because that limits the menu a great deal. Will a lot of our kids be learning from home, in which case we won't be serving them meals? Will we have to serve the meals through the summer program like we're doing this year? Community services, how many programs can we have? What will childcare look like? We really don't know that. So what I would like to do is just roll over the budget into next year and then really start, once we know what everything is going to look like, start on the actual budget to be approved in December. There's just too many unknowns right now for us to accurately budget those funds. And I also want to point out that the fund balance transfers from LTFM, the legislature, the bill that just passed, did allow for transfers in this year, but next year also. So that does help us next year if we're ending, if we have to do some mandatory childcare that nobody pays for, we will have some flexibility next year as well. Okay, so the 2021 preliminary budget, I would say that the detail is all posted, but the preliminary budget would show the total general fund budget to be 7.6 million and the unassigned to be 5.7 million, or 12.6%. can go to the next slide. So I assumed 285 kindergarten students. We're currently at 279, but my original projection was 311. And so I lowered that projection for this revenue. So right now I'm assuming we're gonna have 285 kindergarten students. And that with that lower kindergarten, it only assumes that we are 14 students more overall in enrollment. So very, very few new students next year. 2% on the formula, which the legislature passed last year. We could increase our special ed revenue a little bit because the special ed subsidy aid that they passed a couple of years ago is going to increase for next year. Other than that, I left the revenue fairly flat from the 1920 budget. And then again, the CARES COVID revenue, we'll have to see exactly how much that is and what our uses are, but I'll be reflecting that in the revised budget. I won't go through all these details, but the staffing changes that you basically approved in April, we're decreasing 2.5 certified staff in the elementaries. We're also going to be increasing a 0.5 non-certified staff in each school. And some of that will be done by attrition, and some of that will be done through trimming some hours. We're hoping most of it will be done through attrition. Middle school, we are increasing that 1.0 for the PE health, but we were decreasing German 0.5, so it's an additional 0.5 FTE. High school, we're going to be decreasing 1.0 FTE in certified staff. This preliminary budget also assumes that we're changing our dean of students to an assistant principal. We really have a need at the high school to have more staff available to do staff observations and evaluations. Very difficult to get all of those done. And the cost of this is about $22,000. So the dean of students would still perform some dean of student duties. However, they would also be able to do staff evals. And then we're also in this budget, we're including 5 leadership positions to assist the administration with instructional and other changes that need to occur in the high school. Right now, their leadership consists of department heads, which are very limited in duties and very limited in scope. And for the changes that Nicole would like to make at the high school, especially in the instructional area, she really needs to have some key people that will be able to help her with those and get those changes out to the staff. Because of some changes we're making to the leadership team at the middle school, this would only be an additional about $4,000 in cost, so very minimal. And again, we're holding on the CLC staffing until enrollment is more clear for next year. And again, just a decrease of 0.25 FTE in special services. We actually, we're very fortunate to find a very good half-time psych, which was the key to all of these changes. And we made the offer last week and it was accepted. So we were able to find a 0.5 psych, which was key to decreasing this by 0.25 FTE. Okay, I always include a little bit of contingency in the budget. Some years we spend some, most years we don't. And I'm able to have salary and benefit costs be, good for our current staff, except custodians, and we are doing mediation with custodians on Tuesday. We're doing 3 total school buses, 2 from capital, 1 from the general fund, and I do plan to continue that charge back to the community services fund. The capital plan, the detail is posted to board docs. We have quite a few special projects, mainly in the area of technology. The biggest project is to replace the wireless access points at all the buildings. When I talked to Craig about this, I said, we just did this. And he said, it was really 7 years ago. I'm like, oh my goodness, or 6 years ago. I'm like, oh my goodness, I can't believe how fast time goes, but we really need to upgrade our access points again. And then we have our annual allocations, of course, that we always use for software and building things and so forth. So that's pretty normal. Mark? Mark, do you have a question? Nope.
No. Okay. No.
Okay. Next slide. LTFM, again, the projects are listed. We have to transfer some, as I said earlier, to cover nutrition services and community services COVID expenses. We have some projects, and I will be asking you to approve a new 10-year plan at the June meeting. If the documents are out, sometimes I don't have the documents out. We have until July 30th to do it. It depends upon when MDE gets their documents published. I'm still waiting for them. And here's the general fund balance. The blue is the total and the red is the unassigned. And so it will, be declining. Like I said, we were, fortunate this year to be able to take advantage of some of this and not have our unassigned fund balance decrease quite as much. So that was really, really a good thing. And just a couple comments about the committed and reserved accounts. LTFM is going to be decreasing by the end of next year, and that's mainly due to the COVID transfers. Operating capital, it is going to be decreasing. We have a lot of operating capital projects every year, and this could get to be a problem in the coming years. You always want to keep your capital reserve accounts high enough to handle projects as they come up, and this will start decreasing. Gifted and talented, the fund balance would be close to zero after 2021, and that was a planned spend down. We've had a full-time certified staff supporting that program, and Maren is aware that this is the last year that this will happen. And then the other funds, 2, 4, 6, and 7 will be presented in June. Again, with the fund 2 and 4, probably just a rollover budget as long as you're okay with that. So the budget approval will be June 22nd. September we'll have updated enrollment, audit results in October, final budget in December, and we start the process over in January. So any questions or comments at all?
I just want to point out with Sandy that when this whole coronavirus came and we're spending money for childcare, for lunches, all the salaries there, and fortunately we were able to transfer money, not that we wanted to from those other funds, but to turn a negative into a positive. And she's done a great job with this, that we're coming out ahead. It's a very positive, not that we want to use long-term facility maintenance funds, but it's better than the general fund. And there's many districts that have to pull money out of their general fund to pay for all this. So that's definitely a positive. I can't emphasize enough the key about student enrollment. And when we talk about, when Denny asked about plans, I mean, we've got to create learning options so we capture all of our kids coming back this next year. And again, that's what I was talking about, that hybrid learning model, but that will be the key, and especially with kindergarten. And that's obviously a big concern, but we think we're going to stay positive, but that is a big concern for us as enrollment.
Sandy, I do have a question.
Yeah.
So in regards to, you had talked about certified staff not being flexible after July 1st. Let's just say, I'm just going to pick a number out of the sky, say 5% of the students, I'm going to randomly pick a number, 5% don't come back. Do we want to do something more proactive before July 1st in order to prepare for that within our budget? Or do you think we're in a place where we kind of leave things as is and kind of roll with it as it comes?
Yeah, well, I mean, I've talked with Tim. Am I still at my microphone? Okay. I talked with Tim about that, and we certainly could non-renew some more staff. I don't know, we wouldn't know where to non-renew them, which ones. You could only non-renew our non-tenured. And Tim, maybe you want to talk about that a little bit. I mean, it sends a message to staff. It's a difficult thing to do. We certainly could, though, non-renew some of our non-tenured staff.
We could, but right now our class sizes in some of our buildings are real high. And, there's concerns on the other side is that, that they are too high. So we've been, be able to cut back where we had to and be on the high end of the range. I don't know. it's a tough thing. It's so hard to predict, but I'd like to be proactive, but I think it would probably cause some long-term mistrust. That makes sense. And just because we're high, I mean, there's people concerned about our high class sizes somewhere at the elementary, but they're not outside our recommended range. I need to tell you that.
Sure.
They're on the high end. I never hear about when we're on the low end of a class size, but I hear that. So I don't know. But Matt, the only thing I'd say to that also, we also got to keep in mind with this whole thing, I don't know how many teachers are going to be able to come back. We had, a number of our non-certified not be able to work. So what's going to be the direction from the federal and state government for employees that can't come back to work because of health reasons too? So that's a whole nother thing that's
a good point.
Factor that we've talked about as we go through this. So I'm comfortable. I believe in being proactive, but I think we're doing the right thing right now going into this coming year. Not to say I'm not nervous. I'm probably more nervous about the kindergarten than anything.
Is there anything else you can see that we could be proactive on as we approach this year with not knowing where enrollment is going to be probably more than any other year?
Our proactive is going to be establishing relationships with our families during the summer, and that we're assuring them that they'll have quality learning, whether it's hopefully in person. I can't imagine kindergarten, first grade, second grade, they're learning how to read, that it's going to be online again. But there are going to be some kids, there's some families that choose not to do that. We have to provide both options. But I'll tell you, with even kindergarten, our teachers being able to establish early communication with these families, not waiting until the first week of August with a letter, but being more personal in our outreach to that. So that would be what I'm looking at, more of a plan for doing, is controlling what we can control, even though, we don't know what's really going to happen with this pandemic, or we don't know what the Department of Education or the governor is going to tell us either. So we'll have to just wait and see. But there's things we can control. And I think that's going to be a big thing. Is I think we have trust. If you look at the parent survey, and that the relationships that we continue to form, especially with our new families and new students, is going to be the key.
Good. Just one more thing. So one more chance. Is there any chance that there's going to be any funds to help recover some of those costs when it came to providing the daycare and food costs, or no? Is that a very slim to none?
No, very slim to none.
Okay.
I mean, I think the legislature had a chance in their final education bill, and they didn't address it at all. And it was kind of an odd thing, because they said we had to keep them on, but then later they said we could lay them off. Well, most districts have a 2-week window that we have to give them. And so by the time they notified us, it was almost too late to do anything about it. So it was just it was a bad deal.
Okay, got it.
And I'm just too, Matt, I think when I talk about handling the money and doing those chargebacks, or your decision, you supported the decision to go partial pay for coaches, all those things add up. We're ending the year pretty good. We're ending at 4% better than what we thought was going to happen. So at least we got a head start. But again, student enrollment, and staffing, like you're talking about, is such a guess job right now. So that's our number one concern, is the revenue coming in. And if we get in a situation next year, I mean, we do have flexibility with non-certified, with staffing as we go into next year too. So you got to keep that in mind too. And again, I'll just repeat it again. Just remember, I know we didn't know non-certified when this whole thing broke, the number of health issues people had. You don't know that until it happens. And the same thing could happen on the certified side as we go into the next fall. In fact, someone I know very well has health concerns, and I didn't know about it going into this next fall, about what they're going to do if we have school.
Okay, Tim, if we were to opt to non-renew, and this is going to be entirely your opinion, I'm sure, there's no way to know, but if we were to opt to non-renew and for some reason enrollment was higher than we expected, or we let some of the wrong personnel go, how long would it take, and what are the odds that we would be able to get the needed personnel in time?
Well, I know what my principals would say. The ones that we're keeping right now are very good teachers. And what they would not want to do is lose these very good teachers because they're going to get a job somewhere else. So that would affect the quality of our teaching and learning too. I mean, that's another point that I didn't mention that. So could we replace them? Yeah, we could replace them. But the odds of hiring late and getting a quality teacher, I think would have a negative impact on our education.
Just a comment about new monies from the state. When times were good, we got a 2%. And with things looking as they are as far as our state budget is concerned, I certainly wouldn't look for any new monies of any consequence coming from the state. I just don't see anything like that happening.
Yeah, I agree. I think most business managers are thinking it's going to be a 0-0 next time. And the only thing we've got going for us is that, Governor Walz does place a huge emphasis on education. But yeah, the money is going to be pretty tough. And I know that's some of the union leaders that I've been talking with. That's their biggest concern is what's going to happen in the next 2 to 5 years. It's going to be pretty hard. Okay. Any other questions?
They're all good questions, very good questions that we needed to share with you.
Next item is approval of the 2020 to 21 MIST renewal.
Yeah, I do not have it. I wanted to keep the agenda item though, because I wanted to just update you a little bit. So if you recall, last year was a pretty tough year for our renewal. This year is even going to be harder. And the reason we don't have a proposal right now to approve is because they're still negotiating with some of the carriers. Right now, with the way the stock market is, all the investments, as well as the claims, a lot of these carriers also do workers' comp claims, and workers' comp for COVID is going to be out of this world. And so carriers are just being ruthless with the renewals. So in the budget that I presented tonight, I have a 50% increase. That might not be even enough. We also have the fact that we have a very large claim out there, a $300,000 claim from a bus accident that we had a couple of years ago that hasn't been settled yet. And so you had that with, the market, how hard it is, along with our huge claim. It's going to be pretty brutal. On the positive side, however, the MIST did approve their first loss fund distribution for year ending fiscal year 13-14. That was the founding of the year it was founded. And we're going to get about $10,000 back. And that, we can continue to get money back because we've had, the pool has performed very well. And so as soon as all the claims are closed and we feel good about our stability fund, we're able to provide money back to districts. And I see that continuing, but right now the renewal is going to be extremely difficult. Fortunately, a large part of the increase will be to the loss fund. And that is not money paid to the insurance company. It's money we pay to ourselves to pay claims. So that increases a likelihood of us getting a payment out in future years. But I'll have something in June, but right now they didn't want to finalize it because they were still working day and night trying to figure out what the best option is for the pool. Some pretty tough meetings I've been having. I'm on their board and it's been pretty hard. So I just wanted to give you an update on that.
Okay, then we'll go ahead. The next item is approval of certification of district population.
Yeah, so in the past, I would have actually Krista Nagorski call. This is what we had done for years before I even started. call to, get the number of housing permits and number of, people per household, and we would calculate it. Well, last year the state demographer called me, or someone from the office called me and said, I can give you the estimate, and our estimate is actually higher than what you're estimating. So now every year I'm just going to call them and they're going to tell me what to use. So that was really good. And so now they're estimating the population to be 21,011. The only thing this is used for is our community ed levy information. But I would ask that you would approve our estimated district population of 21,011.
Okay, can I have a motion to approve that?
So
number?
moved. So moved.
Second.
Okay, and then we'll do a roll call vote. Mark?
Yes.
Leo?
Yes.
Matt?
Yes.
Dennis?
Yes.
Kim?
Yes.
Tammy?
Yes.
Jean? Yes. Motion carries 7-0. And now we have the approval of the transportation driver memorandum of understanding. That was included in our packets, I believe.
Yes, well, this came about because in our transportation department, they place a huge emphasis on attendance. And the reason they do that is because of the difficulty of finding sub bus drivers and van drivers. And so they really they pride themselves on not missing any time. Well, as soon as the pandemic hit, we had several drivers that had health conditions or were elderly, and they really couldn't do the work that we had for them. And the district treated them very well. I mean, don't get me wrong, we treated them very well. We paid them. I mean, we've been working with them. They would say they've been treated excellent by the district. But what do we do about that attendance incentive? Because they have not been scheduled to work. So there's several, I think there's 5 or 6 that had perfect attendance up until March 15th. And then the little work we had for them to do afterwards, they did, but would it be right to give them the full bonus? And so what we did is we talked with them and talked about, could we offer them 70% of what they would normally get? And I think it's fair, and I would like the board to approve that for this one time, so they can get the majority of their attendance bonus.
Do you need a motion, Sandy?
I'll make
Yes.
a motion to approve the 70% bonus for attendance.
Okay, and we'll do another roll call vote. Mark?
Yes.
Leo?
Yes.
Matt?
Yes.
Dennis?
Yes.
Kim?
Yes.
Tammy?
Yes.
Jean? Yes. Motion carried 7-0. And now we have the approval of a revised 2019-2020 district calendar.
Yeah, so Janelle prepared this. So really, our final calendar should match what our MARS file has. Our MARS is the information that we provide to the state on the number of school days, the students that attended, and so forth. So it really should match. And so what Janelle did was she took out the 2 snow days, the one in November and one in January, I believe. And then we didn't have school March 16th and 17th prior to that planning period when they closed school. So we took those out. And then she noted the planning days and then the start of the distance learning. So this calendar will match what our MARS file submission is at the end of the year. So we just ask for your approval for the final calendar. Did I miss anything, Janelle?
Nope, that sounds great.
Okay.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Second.
Okay, and have a roll call vote. Mark?
Yes.
Leo?
Yes.
Matt?
Yes.
Dennis?
Yes.
Kim?
Yes.
Tammy?
Yes.
Jean? Okay, yes, motion carries 7-0. And the next item is a resolution approving the Southwest Metro Long-Term Facility Maintenance Program budget.
Yeah, the next 2 agenda items have to do with Southwest Metro Intermediate District, and we have given them the authority for us to levy our taxpayers for LPFM and safe schools. It's based on a formula. The formula is attached to the resolution in board docs, and not a huge change from the prior year levy, and everything looks on the up and up. So Dennis can read the resolutions.
Thank you. At this time, I'll entertain a motion to consider the resolution approving Southwest Metro Intermediate School District 288's long-term facility maintenance program budget and authorizing the inclusion of a proportionate share of those projects in the district's application for long-term facility maintenance revenue. Do I have that motion?
So moved.
It's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to consider the following resolution. The school board of Southwest Metro Intermediate School District number 288 has approved a long-term facility maintenance program budget for its facilities for 2021-2022 school year in the amount of $300,000. The various components of the program budget are attached as Exhibit A hereto and are incorporated by reference. Said budget is hereby approved. And I asked Sandy for the amount that we would be responsible for, and New Prague's cost would be $14,355.89. How do you vote on this resolution, Kim?
Yes.
Jean?
Yes.
Matt?
Yes.
Tammy?
Yes.
Mark?
Yes.
Leo?
Yes.
Dennis? Yes. Item passes 7-0.
Okay, the next item is the resolution approving the Southwest Metro Safe School Program.
Let me get that up here. At this time, I'll entertain a motion to consider the resolution approving Southwest Metro Intermediate School District number 288 Safe School Program and authorizing the inclusion of a proportionate share of this program in the district's application for safe school revenue. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to consider the following resolution. The school board of Southwest Metro Intermediate School District number 288 has approved a safe school program for the 2021-2022 school year in the amount of $224,000 and $224,400. The various components of the program budget are attached as Exhibit A here too, and are incorporated herein in reference. And our amount that we would be responsible for this budget would be $10,738.21. And how do you vote on this resolution, Kim?
Yes.
Jean?
Yes.
Leo?
Yes.
Mark?
Yes.
Tammy?
Yes.
Matt?
Yes.
Dennis? Yes. Item passes 7-0.
Okay, the next item is approval of the 2020-21 Middle School Student Handbook. Do we need any discussion? Okay, could I have a motion to approve the middle school handbook?
I'll make the motion.
Second?
Second.
Okay, and how do you vote, Mark?
Yes.
Leo?
Yes.
Matt?
Yes.
Dennis?
Yes.
Kim?
Yes.
Tammy?
Yes.
Jean? Yes. Motion carries 7-0. And the next item is approval of the 2020-21 Transportation Parent Handbook. Is there any
So moved.
discussion? Okay, so Tammy moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. And how do you vote, Mark?
Yes.
Leo?
Yes.
Matt?
Yes.
Dennis?
Yes.
Kim,
Yes.
Tammy,
Yes.
Jean, yes. Motion carries 7-0. The next item is approval of the 2020-21 Transportation Department Employee Handbook. Could I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
How do you vote, Mark?
Yes.
Leo?
Yes.
Matt?
Yes.
Dennis?
Yes.
Kim?
Yes.
Tammy?
Yes.
Jean? Yes. Motion carries 7-0. And now we have a resolution for termination and non-renewal.
At this time, I'll consider a motion for the non-renewal of 3 contracts of probationary teachers. Those 3 teachers being Ryan Buckmeyer, Amanda Floor, Lindsay Woodson. Do I have a motion to consider this resolution?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to consider the following resolution. It is recommended by the board to terminate the tenured contract of these 3 non-tenured teachers. Whereas these 3 teachers are probationary teachers in Independent School District 721. Be it resolved by the school board of District 721 that pursuant to statutes, these 3 teachers will be terminated at the close of the current 2019-2020 school year. How do you vote on this resolution? Leo?
Yes.
Mark?
Yes.
Tammy?
Yes.
Matt?
Yes.
Jean?
Yes.
Kim?
Yes.
Dennis? Yes. Item passes 7-0.
Okay, and that concludes our agenda. So can I have a motion for an adjournment?
So moved.
So move.
Second.
Okay. So how do you vote? Mark?
Yes.
Leo?
Yes.
Matt?
Yes.
Dennis?
Yes.
Kim?
Yes.
Tammy?
Yes.
Jean, yes. Motion carries 7-0. We are adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Have a good evening.
Keeping you waiting.
We got